everyone. I'm trying to talk quietly because I think we might be not in a silent car on the train, but I should behave and not be loud. So I'm sitting in a cute little first class cabin. We just left Copenhagen. We're heading to Hamburg. And I think I may have mentioned in another video that this is one of the only trains in the world that actually, I don't know, like it drives itself onto a ferry, and then we ride a ferry from Copenhagen to Germany. So I think we're heading west of Copenhagen.
South.
No, but we're going west.
We already did that.
Okay, we already did that. We headed a little bit west, like Copenhagen's on an island, not in the main proper peninsula of Denmark. And so we drove west, which for me would be that way, but maybe for the camera the other way. And then, and now we're heading south. And so I don't know when we're gonna get into Germany. I think the ferry is like still part of Denmark. And so, yeah. You know, I love trains, and so I'm really excited. I can't stop smiling. We're driving through kind of like a flatland area with a lot of deciduous trees. The leaves are off because, you know, it's beginning of March, and a lot of farmland, cute little horses and cows and stuff, and thatched roofs. So this is just great. So I don't know what we will be doing yet in Hamburg other than, for me, you know, still on the hunt for a great hot dog and the origin of the hamburger, which they don't have on a roll. They eat the hamburger without bread, supposedly. So we have to, you know, see what's up with that because I'm mildly food motivated. And the thing about Scandinavia, and I'm sure Germany too, yes, definitely Germany, meat is a really good thing here. So we left Starbucks this morning and had about a couple hundred kroner left, Danish kroner, so we went and exchanged that and ended up getting 22 or 24 euro. And so we are now heading into the EU, into the official Eurozone, where we can actually use money that's a little easier to comprehend. I bought 2 mugs today in Starbucks. They're really cute. I can't show them now because they're up in my carry-on in my luggage. But they were like 99 Danish kroner each, which is kind of like 15 bucks, but they're cute. It says Copenhagen on the side. And yeah, Orion's been taking care of the money the whole time. I haven't been paying attention. So like 2 mugs and my coffee this morning were like, I don't know, 251 kroner, something like that. So it's kind of interesting, really, but I guess you get used to it. The idea of 2 mugs and coffee being 255, whatever, 251 denominations of whatever. It's not a bad thing. I'm really good in math. I just have been like mildly lazy because I'm trying to feel like I'm really on vacation. And so, and the exchange between all the krona places is very different, which I've mentioned before, between Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the best exchange really is the Norwegian krona, right? Because you get like 9.5 kroner per US dollar. So you can divide by 9, which I kind of was doing. Wouldn't divide by 10 because then whatever. But you know, things in Norway are a little more expensive, which I've mentioned. Going out to eat, groceries, the whole bit, alcohol. Yeah, so in Denmark, the tax on a car is 150% of the cost of the car, but supposedly it's going up to 180%. But then they add another 25% tax on top of that that's separate. It sounded like a VAT tax, but that's not what our flat owner called it. I have no idea what it is. So a $100,000 car would cost, I don't know, like $300,000, something like that. Right now, electric cars are not taxed, so we definitely saw like a handful of Teslas here. But they're going to be taxed soon, supposedly too, like in the next year or two. What else did I want to talk about? It's been an amazing experience to have conversations with a lot of Uber drivers, particularly about the differences in the culture and the economy between these Scandinavian countries. And so I know it's like anecdotal, and the Uber drivers were really lovely because, of course, they said the same thing, like, hey, it's just my opinion. But it's kind of interesting, you know, to experience these countries that are markedly different in many ways from the American capitalistic economy. And I'm bringing that up only because we've got Bernie Sanders like trying to be president and shift things around, which I think is a bunch of bullshit. But sorry, I mean, I'm being sort of tongue-in-cheek, but you can't revamp an entire economy based on a couple of socialistic principles. It just doesn't work that way, in my opinion. So I'm learning a lot about that and thinking a lot about that. About all of this is that people are kind of people, no matter where they're coming from. We've met amazing, lovely people. We went on our Northern Lights tour with people from Malaysia, Singapore, Costa Rica, Switzerland, where else? Philadelphia, which, whatever. Yeah, but people are kind of just people. And so whatever, you know, culture that they are coming from, and whatever socioeconomic background they're coming from, or whatever sort of drives the culture and environment in which they live, we just sort of adapt to that. And at the end of the day, we all want to have magical experiences. And it was fun to be in a place on a big Mercedes bus. And it wasn't big, it fit 12 people, but it was big, like in the sense that we were on this cushy bus, like driving around the Arctic looking for northern lights. And, you know, our endeavor was pretty much the same. It's hard to not get teary-eyed. I'm just thinking about like the moment that we started to see the northern lights, and they don't just sort of blast out. It's not just some sort of like, you know, electric light event where 1 minute the sky is dark and the next minute they show up. They kind of sort of emerge in a really slow, magical way that's really hard to explain if you don't see it. But as we were kind of watching the sky beginning to light up, we all just danced and clapped and cheered and, you know, did the same thing. They say you're not supposed to clap at the Northern Lights, but we all did. And our tour guide Luna was just amazing, and she was cute, from Guatemala. But we all clapped and cheered and did the same thing. Okay, I can't be verklempt anymore. Verklempt. We're really looking forward to Hamburg. I thought Copenhagen was amazing. Just this, you know, city with great energy and just tooling around like on the streets, not really doing much of anything but watching, you know, people and a bazillion bicycles. I tried to count them and it didn't work. I think that people pretty much ride bikes not because they're like uber healthy, but I think they can't afford to buy cars. It's amazing. I'm so spoiled, I'm so American, you know, like if I need to go somewhere, I would much rather get in a car than take a bike or use my feet for walking. But also, we don't live in a city, so yeah, it would be not really a good thing for us to walk very far. I know I should be talking about concrete things, but I'm in like a little whimsical, like wispy kind of mood. Still feeling crazy excited about going to Germany and to the land of my people, sort of. It took me a long time when we were in Italy to figure out that I shouldn't be telling Italians sono tedesca, which is I'm German. You know, I'm not sure really how that went over. I stopped doing that like in the last couple of years. Mainly because I've been watching like World War II documentaries and I don't know. So, it's kind of interesting. What else should we talk about? I know I should be talking about concrete things like money and transportation. You know, before we went on our trip, we did a lot of research about how to deal with money and who takes which credit card and which country would prefer cash. We didn't have too much of a problem navigating that, other than if you want to buy train tickets or bus tickets. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you are in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, pretty much if you have an American credit card without a PIN number, which I think I touched on that, some American banks would say, yes, you do have a PIN number, but it's not the same thing. It's definitely not the same thing. Because we took such a long time to switch over to the Euro MasterCard Visa system, the EMV system, just by actually having chips in cards. We're not there yet with like standard PINs issued by banks. Orion got one from Wells Fargo that should have had like an official PIN, and I don't think it worked anywhere.
I didn't try it.
Oh, you didn't try it? Okay. So we should try that maybe in Germany just to see if it works, don't you think?
Yeah, the problem is it's an American Express, so all the places,
okay,
like a lot of places don't even take that anyway.
Okay, so you guys are hearing that.
So I'd have to balance, like finding a place that actually took Amex where I would need to use a PIN.
Okay. So, we did have, there was one credit card that wanted a PIN in Gothenburg in Sweden, and we couldn't use credit cards there at all. At the grocery store. So in order to get bus tickets and train tickets, we pretty much, well, not train tickets, it's hard to say, because some of them we pre-bought at home online. Like the train that we're on now, we bought this ticket before we came. And we're traveling first class, which is really quite amazing. This is really a magical German train. And I can't remember what we called it. Yes, it's first class, but then it's like a salon? It might be a salon ticket. I can't remember. But it's like a 4.5 hour train ride, so we kind of wanted to be comfy and have our space. Anyhow, so yes, we had to use cash, and definitely had to, you know, look for ATMs to get cash, to get bus tickets, to get Fly to Get. The Fly to Get is a very cool train system that leaves Oslo airport to take you wherever you need to go in Oslo, to the train station, etc. So Fly to Get, we use cash. The nice thing is that whenever you need to navigate anything in any of these Scandinavian countries, whether you're looking for an ATM or if you need to use cash, or you have a question about which ticket to buy, you can ask anyone. They speak English, and they're phenomenally helpful. Everybody has been incredibly friendly. It's been amazing. Yeah, so that's the story with cash credit card. Before we left, we were under the impression that in Germany they would prefer cash, and Norway they would prefer credit cards, and I can't remember what the deal was with Sweden and Denmark. Probably that they prefer credit cards, I imagine. We were in a grocery store yesterday in Copenhagen, and the girl was like, "Oh, you don't have a PIN?" So, you know, for whatever reason, and I'm just saying this, it's just a difference in culture. And I think I mentioned this in another, didn't I talk about this already? So the EMV chip thing comes from European MasterCard Visa, and the United States has been trying to shift into that. Like, officially we all should have started sometime, I think, last fall, maybe in October or something like that. And a lot of it had to do with the security breach, I think, at Target. But I think banks were trying to get a grip on, you know, credit card fraud, because in the United States, supposedly, from what I read, accounts for 70% of credit card fraud, because we don't have chips embedded in the card, and we don't have PINs. I still have credit cards and ATM cards that have no chips. I can't believe it. So the chips are here, you know, and so you put it in the machine, and the machine reads the chip, and it stays in a little longer. They've been doing this in Europe for a very long time. I remember them doing it in Italy in 2002 or 2003. So it's been around for a long time. And so the United States has been really slow. In part, I think it's expensive for banks to make the switch. But I also think, too, that from what I read, that banks were hesitant because Americans would have a hard time having their credit cards sit in a machine to get read for, you know, whatever, a minute maybe, not even a minute, 30 seconds. And I thought, well, that would be impossible. How could that be, you know? But it kind of turns out like... I'm listening to Danish, I think. So cute. But everywhere I go in the States, pretty much, Americans are kind of freaking out about putting their card and letting it sit in there for 20. They like the magnetic stripe. And it's kind of an interesting thing. And so Americans are complaining about it the way that banks anticipated that they would, and I never thought that would happen. So, you know, when the next phase comes, when we actually really will have PINs, it'll make things so much more secure, and hopefully Americans will adjust and adapt to that, because I think that it kind of matters. The other thing I want to talk about too is, how could I say this? .7-Elevens are very important in Scandinavia. You do a lot of things at 7-Elevens, and so they're much different than the States. We didn't buy any food at the 7-Elevens, but the 7-Eleven food actually looks good. Like, they had paleo bars in the 7-Eleven. Your bag just fell. They had paleo bars, like they looked homemade, granola bars, like crazy sandwiches and desserts, and yeah. So why were we in a 7-Eleven? Why would we care? Because this is where you load more data and minutes on your SIM card. This is where what else is important? Get bus tickets. So 7-Elevens are really critical. They were a critical part of this trip. So the 7-Eleven that we first got to in Oslo, we ended up getting an ATM there to get cash. We ended up getting a bus pass for like, I don't know, 24 hours, but you can get them one way, or round trip for one trip, or 3 days. I know in Tromsø, like if you wanted a 7-day bus pass, you had to go to the tourist office. But yeah, so 7-Elevens are a critical part of the whole journey. Don't you think? In every country. We popped into a 7-Eleven in Sweden. Definitely popped into a 7-Eleven in Copenhagen, but that was more for bottled water. I don't think we got anything of like travel importance in our local 7-Eleven, but we didn't take mass transit in Copenhagen. We ended up using Uber, and we were right next to the train station, so yeah, it ended up not being a big deal. And I think, do you have anything else to say? So here we are. It's 10:30. I think we're going to arrive in Hamburg around 2:30. So we're actually staying like not in central Hamburg, but in the district within the big city of Hamburg. Hamburg is huge. So the first thing we'll do when we get off the train is go look for, don't we have to get a SIM card? Okay, so in the train station we'll be looking for a place to sell SIM cards, and I'm hoping that someone will speak English, because I don't speak German. Well, I speak this much German. I feel as though there's a very good chance pretty much Germans are going to speak English, but I think Scandinavians have like the English speaking thing down. It's been incredible everywhere we go, and I know I've said this a million times, but it's not just that they're speaking English. They apologize for assuming that you speak their native language, which is amazing. So as soon as you say it, if they're like, oh, blah, 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 whatever they're saying, you know, and you're like, oh, do you mind speaking English? Oh, I'm sorry. You know, they like apologize. It's the craziest and most amazing thing. And so they tell you like everything you need to know, like go here, go and get on this track. Here's your car number. Here's your seat number. Like whatever. You can ask a million questions if you have no idea what you're doing. And everywhere we go, Norwegians, Swedish, Danish, like they go out of their way to be helpful. It's an amazing, amazing culture. And then there was something else I wanted to say, but now I can't remember. It had to do with Norway. I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember. But I haven't had breakfast yet, really. I had a Larabar, but like we've been eating lots of really good things, so I feel like I need to eat and replenish my energy. Like a giant sandwich or a hot dog, or a hamburger. Yeah, so we'll get off the train, we'll look for a place to get a SIM card. I may have mentioned this already. We pre-ordered and had mailed to us in California 2 SIM cards for Sweden, yeah, and Denmark. And the Swedish one, we had a hard time with talk minutes, right? And messaging. So for whatever reason, the pre-ordered SIM card, the data was fine, yeah? But texting and talk time didn't work on that pre-ordered SIM card. But the Danish one worked fine. But we didn't make phone calls?
I remember I had to go buy a new one.
In Denmark?
Yeah.
Okay, so the pre-ordered SIM cards that we got shipped to us into California ended up not being like the brightest idea. But we didn't look around to see where we could get. Where'd you go get your data fix in Denmark?
The train station.
Okay, so in the train station you can go and do all that stuff anyway and buy a SIM card. You ended up getting a new SIM card. Okay, so train stations, it looks like that's where it's at. If you need to, if you're going to do a Scandinavian trip, you know, you need a SIM card for Norway, Sweden, Denmark, obviously a separate one for Germany, but they're all available at a train station, and they really come in handy, not only for data, for whatever you need to Google at any moment in time, but like with Uber, it was brilliant, don't you think? Or even like Google Maps, having that data. The other thing too is that you can download, how does it work? You can download maps. You can download Google Maps for cities. How does it work?
It's maps.me.
Oh, maps.me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we didn't use at all.
Which we didn't use at all. Okay, so never mind. We can cut that. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking because your arms are getting tired from holding the camera, yeah?
A little.
Okay. So, we'll see you all in Hamburg, and we'll get that German vibe going, Deutsche. So, I think that's it for now. Ciao. Bye-bye. Auf Wiedersehen.